See things still the same. And they were dancing and singing and moving through the groove. And just when it hit me, somebody turned around and shouted, "Play that funky music, white boy. Play that funky music right. Play that funky music right, boy. Lay down that boogie and play that funky music right." And hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Fatman InParadise, coming to you once again in paradise. Out here making a nuisance of myself as usual. It's just, it's the apocalypse, and I'm so excited. We're just having fun here. I'm annoying some people, actually, the government, and yeah, just having fun on all about that. Right this second, I'm been having a disagreement with a couple people, and I pointed out, honestly, I don't care. A couple of things about this. What's going on? Joe Biden seems to be completely inept in understanding the economy, same with most Democrats. What was it Michael Malice said? Oh, right. Democrats do everything wrong, and Republicans roll over and let them do it. That's basically a historical precedent for you. Democrats, pushed for Jim Crow, passed every Jim Crow law against every single Republican candidate. Historically speaking, we're for and supported the KKK, and it is still well known by those who actually are informed that you cannot be in the KKK and be a Republican. Quite seriously. Can't seriously be a Republican and cannot be part of the KKK at the same time, because the KKK rules. Gotta love it when you're just slightly informed. All this world is just going to theological place, eternal punishment in a handbasket. I've actually started making out invitations for people that keep making it worse for everyone else. Honestly, I didn't make them, I found them, and I've just been, adding names. But right this second, it's just a lot of really stupid stuff. Actually, past week I got an argument with another atheist trying to explain how the Ten Commandments are part of our basic society as Americans. Actually, just Western culture. And after a while, he understood, but he said, I should really put a video or blog up about this. So I went, okay, fine. I will do what I call the secular Ten Commandments. The secular Ten Commandments is an idea I came up with when I was in high school, when I was talking to a bunch of atheists, and, the whole part of your youth when you actually think you know more than everyone else. Hold on a second, I'm going to have to pause this for a second, because that's not playing like it's supposed to. Going back to I came up with the idea of the secular Ten Commandments to explain how, all Western culture is based in Christianity. It's really simple, actually. And the people, the atheists, there's a lot of atheists that are anti-theist, and those individuals tend to be bad actors in most situations. So I decided, I'm going to secularize it so I can explain it to them so they cannot actually jump to the conclusion, oh no, you're just appealing to your sky daddy. I get tired of those people. If you're one of those people, please shut up and listen. And comment afterwards. You can lambaste me all you want, I don't care. I honestly don't care how much people hate me over these videos. Honestly, I'm here to say what I'm saying. See if anyone understands it. 1 second. It's like, certain people have been asking, why do I always play copyrighted music in the background? Well, the same reason why cops have been doing it over in LA and New York. So you can't use my videos without copyright strike. I purposely let myself get a copyright strike. I do not allow myself to get money off these videos. That's 100% on purpose. Only video that I have on my channel that does not have video playing in the background on purpose is that tutorial that's posting tomorrow, and that's the how to do secure social media. I'm gonna cut it up and do different sections so you can do it. I can show you each individual one. Because honestly, it's useful, especially if you do it the way I set it up. Recently I found out that I've actually frustrated a couple hackers when they realized what I did. It's so much fun. Well, I said relatively recently. It was a couple months ago. But yeah, Look forward to that video. It gets posted tomorrow. It will be on my YouTube channel exclusively. Fatman InParadise. Yeah. It's a lot of fun doing things like that, helping people. But yeah. For honestly, I don't have anything else. My heart is dread, and I won't back down. Hero to rank doesn't make a hero. True hero, nor do they believe. Alright, sorry, love that song. I know it's from a stupid anime, but my response, my response is, kiss my fuzzy butt if you don't like it. I do, and it's my show. You don't like it, you change the channel. Seriously, go someplace else. I'm not here for views. I'm here to get my point across. Alright. Now, I am going to use the Catholicism versions of the Ten Commandments because I want to have a standard and I want people to understand where I'm coming from. Here is a basic image of what they are. Flip the camera image around for those who want to do this. But yeah, basic. Most of the Ten Commandments are self-explanatory, but I will explain in detail why it's important on the bigger picture as well. Alright, the first commandment, I am the Lord thy God, I have taken you out of Egypt, I am a selfish God, you shall have no false gods before me, or strange gods, depending on your translation. This particular commandment is, well, if you want to translate it to the idea of what is God. What is God? Everyone defines it differently, especially atheists. Atheists want to describe it as the sky daddy, the make-believe best friend, the imaginary friend. My response is, well, you can have that idea. You're wrong, but you can have that idea. What is God? God is the representation of, well, if you want to go as secular as possible while taking the idea seriously, we have to go with Jordan Peterson's idea. The idea of dealing with the future through delayed gratification and understanding to get rewards at that time, and not to indulge in self-gratification and self and instant gratification. Yeah, well, does that want to work? This is important because it's changed the way society worked historically. With the idea that there is a future, it changed society for the better. No one really understands when humanity actually started doing this. Honestly, could have been the Neanderthals, in all honesty. That's what I think actually happened, because the first actual settlements and it could be classified as a village that is historically the oldest one, which is, what was it, 3.6 billion years ago. No, million years, not bill. Got the number wrong. Million years ago. The oldest settlement was a Neanderthal settlement. It did not even have just basic tools. It had artistic tools for doing bone carving inside of one of their grave sites. One of the buildings that had delicate inscriptions inside the stonework. And anyone who can tell you, limestone's hard to work with if you don't know what you're doing. You break it, it's brittle, and then otherwise you can actually do some really amazing work. And it was still detailed after 3 million years. It was honestly kind of pretty. I only have a couple images online. I encourage those of you interested in this stuff to look it up. But the reason why I bring this up is the idea of the future. That means, here's an idea. Father, I give up this grave gratification, this moment right now, so I can set up for future endeavors for me and my own. I'm going to work harder to get more money to be able to have a better life tomorrow. Now keep in mind, that stuff didn't really exist in ancient cultures up until, well, the earliest time we have actually proper recorder is Mesopotamia. Or even, what was it? The Epics of Gilgamesh, actually. That's when we really start seeing it. It's honestly quite amazing when you think about it, how that idea has been with us for so long. It's wonderful. And, well, it changed our society. Yeah, we went from primarily polytheist to a monotheist cultures, at least in this hegemonic state of the United States. But it's the idea that we have this idea of reaching towards the future. It's not just that, it's also the traditions of those who've come before us. So, what is the tradition? Have no false gods before me. As well, it's the idea of who you are, what you hold true. So you're having deals with the future, what you hold true, what you think. It's embodied in a phrase my grandma liked to say. What you think is what you say. What you say is what you do, and what you do is what you are. Or to quote Jordan Peterson, when he's asked if he's a Christian, I behave as that I am. That's the best answer you can give for someone who actually understands the intricacy of the idea of belief. Because belief is not just believing in the tooth fairy or some mystical force. No. This is trust. This is not the idea of, a mythical pimp out there taking care of us just so we offer a couple rosaries every couple of days. That's literally demeaning and disgusting idea. You can understand why a lot of Christians and theists get annoyed with these anti-theists, and not just atheists, anti-theists, who are hostile towards any type of theism because of that idea. And my response is, it's not a new idea, it's been around for a couple thousand years. Seriously, first and foremost, just because you're an atheist and you've just discovered the idea, oh wow, I'll just not believe in God. Congratulations, you have that, but you're nowhere near the first. You might be near the last, but you're not near the first. So, what is the idea of tradition, who we are, and dealing with the future? Well, that's honestly an interesting idea. What would that be classified as? What is the idea of when you have a set of rules that you follow for the betterment of yourself in the future? Well, in Christianity, it's called commandments, but in the entire secular idea of religions and working with theology and for the human psychology towards the future, it's, what was it? Not ethics, but praying for it today. It's what my laws of narration fit into. Not exactly a religion, but the presupposition of an idea of beliefs. The philosophy. There's the word up there. Philosophy. Your philosophy, your core belief. The part of you, the center of your being, that defines who you are. So, what is that? Anyone who can find that in themselves truly finds the beginning of, understanding and what Buddhism calls the path towards enlightenment. Is if you know who you are, you can actually go beyond and become something who you want to be or who you need to be. So, you have this philosophy that you would start to live by. So, if the idea of philosophy, which is the rules and ideas and traditions which help you deal with the future, i.e. an aspect, an idea, an understanding of what is God. Now we place that in the First Commandment, I am your philosophy, you shall have no strange philosophies before me. Basically, I want to translate it to the most basic sentence, don't be a freaking hypocrite. That's what it means. That's honestly what the First Commandment honestly means. When you want to translate it straight to secularism, to as least religious connotations as possible, stick to your philosophies. Stick to your beliefs. Don't back down. Be who you are and be strong with it. That's what it means. First and foremost, and last. Think about this. There are those who are pro-life, like myself, and on principle, I'm against the death penalty. As a culture, I understand why. I also understand historically, and I also understand religiously why different cultures, including the Catholic Church, has used it in the past. Do I agree with it? On principle? No. Do I understand that there are really bad people in the world that I would actually personally classify as evil? Oh yeah, 100%. Do I think that the world, these people need to stop existing for the world to be a better place? I don't like it. But yeah. But because I understand my philosophy, I can actually come to that realization and that rationalization. And I look at it and I go, I don't like it. I want to avoid it as much as possible. But I also understand where how far my philosophy goes when it encounters the real world. I also know that my philosophy must change the real world so I can find the world that I want best in the future for myself and for my own. That's what the first commandment is. Don't be a hypocrite in the way you live. Pretty cool, huh? Here's the second commandment. You shall not take the Lord thy God's name in vain. Okay, if we use the same definition of what is that, this is the idea of practicing God, practicing worship and the act of practicing worship. Mouth did not want to work right there. That means, first and last, follow your philosophy, and don't forswear it just because it gets hard. This is basically saying, I really mean it. Don't be a hypocrite. That's what the second commandment means. Don't forswear it just because it gets hard. Be ready to stand true and look at it and examine it and move forward. That important moment is what's going on. What the second commandment means. That do not forswear just even the idea of your philosophy just because it's difficult. But if it honestly causes more pain than actually helps, then you should actually question it. Question it, absolutely. Actually question every single idea that goes through your head, your philosophy, your beliefs. Heck, I even question God. But that's me. I have that type of personality. I don't ask other people to be like that because I know I'm freaking weird. Come on, I'm a clown. I wear a shirt that says nobody freaking cares. And my party phrase with what that is, until you do. Now, the idea of living true to your philosophy and not forswearing it, honestly, that's a noble idea. Think about those who would march into battle even though that they knew they were being forsworn by those who are commanding them. They're doing the job because they know it needs to be done. Not because they want to, but they have the duty to do so. Because it's who and what they are. Because it's what they do, and that's what they say, and what they think, and what they think, and what they believe. Interesting, isn't it? Remember, now the first commandment, remember to keep holy the Lord's day. Well, honestly, if you want to completely secularize it, what is the Lord's Day? The Lord's Day is the seventh day in the week. And considering we still use the Gregorian calendar with some adjustments, it's actually a really good idea if you at least take one day out of your week to stop and think on your philosophy. Why is this? This is the day to decompress. This is for psychological rest. So, keep your day, the Lord's Day holy. So, you should have that one day and think. You should stop and breathe for one day a week. Even if you're just there for one day, nothing else. You're there without any idea, beyond it, just being there with your loved ones and thinking and talking about your religion and, well, it's not just your religion, but your philosophy, your way of life, who and what you are, and what you believe, and what you want to come to pass. That's keeping the Lord's Day holy. Pretty cool. Well, I've had a lot of time to think about this, so I just have to remember the list in the line, because I know all the Ten Commandments, I just can't remember them in order. Dyslexia is a lot of fun, and so you have to actually do a test. Okay, written tests stink. But yeah, number 4. Honor your father and your mother. Well, think about this. 99% of everyone gets their philosophy from their family. And for the most part, that's the people who bring you up, who gave birth to you. Well, at least it was for the most part. Nowadays, there's a lot of different people in the United States who don't have a father and a mother. So you have to think about this. Who is your father and who is your mother in that situation? Is it the one who popped you out and had one good night stand? Or was it the one who actually gave it and stuck around? Was it the teacher who stood by you when you were accused of doing wrong and said, no, they were right? Was it the senior classman who looked at you and covered for you when something went wrong, but they took the blame so you wouldn't have to be hurt? Was it a friend who just happened to be there, who is older, but stands there and stands right with you in front, who shows you the ropes and helps you along? Is it the boss who is the best guy you've ever known and has helped you beyond your wildest dreams to get this career that you absolutely love? And you will not give up for any amount of money in the world. Sorry, a little bit of me there. So, and who is your mother in this situation? A mother is the one who teaches you compassion, the other side of the coin of humanity. Because we are dual creatures, male and female. No matter what anyone else says, that's just the way genetics work. So, and that's two different psyches, two different classes of psyches, and there's bleed through, do not get me wrong. Personally, Gina Carano, you're hot. I like strong, big women. Keep in mind, I'm 6 feet tall, 300 pounds. Skinny ones don't last very long. It's like getting to the middle of a Tootsie Pop. Sorry, I'm talking about myself again, not little Ten Commandments. But it's the people who teach you these things, especially the parts that you don't understand of the opposite sex or people of the opposite zeitgeist that are who in what part of the society you're part of. The one that teaches you the point of reference is all out of your own personal experiences that help you understand things that you would never understand without their help. That is your father and your mother. Now, most of the time in the world, those are the people who gave birth to you and raised you. Sometimes it isn't. I've known friends who've considered me their father in this respect, because I helped them at their worst times. Yes, they're all younger than me. That's just life. One's actually older, and he went out of my way for me a while back. Yeah. Because I was able to do stuff for them in a manner that was that honored who and what we were and our own personal philosophies that where it overlapped. And where we held true to a point where it was like, well, the keystone in both of our arteries, to our hearts and our lives and our ways of living. And we both agreed upon and we held true that was precious. I showed them other ways, and they grew and became people I'm proud to know. And that's what honoring your father and your mother means. Take care of those who teach you. And not just that, you must pay it forward. You go forward and you teach others. Why? Because that's how we have become the species, the top apex species of this planet. We have become the hegemon of this planet as a species because everything else revolves around us on this planet. Why? Because we're giant big monkeys with tools. We're a meat sack full of snakes. We're constantly fighting with each other, but we're also continuously creating and destroying. And it is a terrifying cycle. But the best way to be able to overcome the destruction is with teaching what you know is true to the next generation. Because that helps, that not only honors the people who came before, your father and your mother and your spiritual aspects, but also makes sure that your philosophy lives on. Oh, this one's simple. Thou shalt not kill. Well, it's simple, and it's also complicated. The idea is simple, but why don't you want to kill? Well, it actually goes down to the hashtag that I always like to use. One chain binds all. If we are not all treated equally under the law, and there's no point for the law, it doesn't matter. You might as well burn it down. So, if we're studying here and we're all believing in the same ideals, the same structures, and the same philosophy, one of the things we cannot allow is killing. Now keep in mind, I do believe there are a number of people in this world that I do believe the world would be better without them. I won't do it. Will I defend myself if I'm ever attacked? Yes. Would it be violent? Would I kill? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I've never been in a situation. I have no point of reference, except that I know I've defended myself multiple times in my life, and I don't have to kill yet. But we cannot allow that as a norm. But over the past year, it has become the norm in certain areas. And just look at how they're handling it now. You shall not commit adultery is number 6. Why is this part of the Ten Commandments? Well, there's a couple of different reasons. And to transfer it to the secular reasoning, if you want to go straightly, well, you made a marriage contract. You gave your oath. You put forward your philosophy and you swore upon it that it would be basically null and void if you broke your word and threw it away by breaking your contract. Because, well, that's what honor is. The idea that you would uphold something greater than yourself, your ideal, your way of life, your God. And when you do, you become noble in the ways of your life. You become at that moment of the cross, between the spirit, the chaos of the spirit, and the tradition from the Father to the Son. When you sit at that moment, in that middle, and I say moment, it's better to use the term ficton, as in that time-place moment, because you're there, but also at that when. That place and when is a ficton. And that moment where you're that moment in time and space, and when you change and become something more, is divine. Or there's no other. People call it the flow state in science. I prefer to call it the divine, because you become something more and different at the same time. You're still who you were, but you're something else as well. And it is, well, addicting. And you feel fulfilled unlike most other endeavors. When you step out of it, you're like, I just want to do it again, because, and those around you have never been more happy with what you do when you're in that moment, because not only are you part of your philosophy, but your philosophy is part of the world, because you're living it in that moment. And if you're committing adultery, you're throwing away your philosophy. Because you've forsworn your oath. You've forsworn your contract to the other person, that you would protect them while they protected you. That they would be your partner until the end. And you give it up. For a tumble in the sheets. Number 7 is basically the same thing. Thou shalt not steal. It's actually a little bit more than that. It's different, but similar. Now, not only have you forsworn your oath, you've also forsworn your job, what your further extension of who you do, how you make your money, well, make your wealth in this world, how you continue to grow and create. So if you're going to forswear that, that's even worse. Because there are people who forswear the spiritual idea in adultery, but when you forswear it by destroying, taking other people's property, it's a different thing, just as bad, but there's a reason why it's after adultery. Yes, there's the idea of stealing for noble ends, but it's still just an idea. How many people honestly steal for noble ends? Be honest. The truth is that number is really, really small. Number 8. You shall not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Why is this important? Well, that's really simple. Not only are you taking your philosophy and forswearing it, you're destroying others. With adultery, it's between two people that are intimate and known to each other. And so the damage is minimal, and it's only usually between two a few others, including the children. It damages everyone in that situation, one tragedy on top of another. Hence the reason why I consider divorce another tragedy. I do not wish to add to tragedy, but that is a way of life. Other people do not seem to understand that. So, but when you do it, when you steal someone else and steal, that's not just breaking a contract. You're hurting everyone inside of that chain of creation of that. Let's talk about that. Go back to thou shalt not steal. Everything starts as dirt, wood, plant, and water. Everything. Plastic is made from minerals. Wood is made from plants. And every liquid that you drink is mostly water. Same with you. That every single thing that you use, like my shiny rock, special rock filled with electricity that I'm talking to you on, is a bunch of minerals, water, oils, and rocks. All processed, and each person along that process earns their proper due. At least they should. They're paid for it, and they work for it. When you steal from them, everyone down that process, you steal from everyone down to the beginning of that process. It's not just one person, it's every one of them. It's a chain reaction. You are cascading, your selfishness as a person when you steal is a cascading reaction of pain and suffering you send down to the littlest person. To quote Aladdin, when you steal from the Sultan, it's the peasants who feel the pinch. When you do this, it happens every single time. Hence the reason why stealing is not ethical at all. Because now, even when you try to steal for a noble end, there will always be someone who hurts and is punished for it. It has nothing to do with it. But by your actions, you hurt them. I hope it's worth it. But going back to number 8, bearing false witness is even worse than that. Because now you're going beyond than just hurting everyone involved with that person that you're forswearing against. Now, when you bear false witness against another, you're causing direct harm to them and their own. Everyone attached to that person will feel pain. Will feel suffering because of your actions and what you say. All false rape accusations included, especially on top of this list, actually. Yeah. Every person who's filed one of those, you're on my list of people who I think the world would be better without. I'm not joking. Unless you make amends and help those you have wronged, don't ever ask me for help. Because I'm only too tempted to not only tell you no, but throw you to the wolves. Please do not give me that temptation. I am not a nice person. Don't give that to me. Because I've been on that end. I've been harmed by false accusations. I have friends, family, and business associates who have been damaged by false accusations, up to and including that. One of them I honestly know for sure didn't happen because he was with me 1,000 miles away from the accused moment of that incident. I'm sorry, you literally can't do that without some type of teleportation. That didn't exist back in the 90s. So that's why you don't never bear witness against the false witness against another. Because not only do you do that to them, but whenever you pervert the process of justice in any and every way when you do so. Like that song by Tim Pool, when you start basing everything on false witnesses, it ends up creating a Will of the People is the name of the song. It talks about the ever escalating, continuing violence revolutions that happen in most countries. Only 3 Western cultures haven't had to deal with that for the most part. And right now, that's starting to change, it seems like. As United Kingdom, United States, and Australia. Every other country has dealt with violent revolutions that went on continuous cycles of violence overthrows less than every 20 years, up until the 20th century when the United States became the hegemon. I use that term a lot. I don't know if anyone knows what that means. Hegemon. Hegemon is the hierarchical leader in competence. Whether or not it's good competence or whether or not the person's a good person does not come into account. Or people. Country. Hegemon is the person who basically is in charge by default because they have the biggest gun in a Mexican shootout. Or the most guns. I say Mexican shootout because yes, those really did start in Mexico. It's not racist. It's like calling the COVID-19 Wuhan flu. It's actually much more accurate than calling it China virus because Wuhan is actually where it started. Like Zika virus. It started on the Zika River. Spanish flu started in Spain. At least that's where it was properly identified as a different variant of the normal flu. And SARS. Now virus. Literally, there's hundreds of thousands of different ones. Only a handful don't have that name, like the Black Plague and stuff like that. But the name of a illness, where it comes from, which the origin of identification, is a long-running tradition in medical science. If you don't like it, and you think it's racist, may I calmly remind you, your opinion is an opinion, not fact. Please shut up. Actually, no, you can keep saying it, but don't ever think your opinion is more valid than fact. It isn't. Usually less. By a significant degree. Now, when that's about everything about bearing false witness. All that's connected to it. You end up just hurting the hegemon, and thus hurting the competential hierarchical structure that it's part of. And thus you will get hurt in the long run. The first thought forbidden, the first speech censored, the first right revoked, is the first chain forged that binds us all irrevocably. One chain binds us all. And all of you will be the one who enslaves yourself in those actions. That's the last reason why those particular ones are here. Because they're an escalation in that ideal. An ideal that was thought of over 2,000 years ago. Closer to 3,000 actually. Even that is the 10 Commandments, not the 2 Great Commandments. 9 and 10. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife or thy neighbor's goods. Why are those here? Well, you have to understand what the word covet means, and the understanding of when at the time period, which definition was used. More commonly, those who are bad actors using the word, they use the definition of wanting that which is of. Hey there, puppy. Cute dog. Alright, why is it wife then goods? Alright, because this is Christianity, Judaism, and this is when they started having only one wife. And that became when polygamy started going out of phase in Judaism. Why is this important? Well, it's primarily to help with abuse of women, because Jews honestly were one of the first cultures that recognized that if you have one woman and 50 men, you can actually rebuild an entire culture. But you have a bunch of women and one man. Yeah, that's right. A bunch of women and one man doesn't really work out. You end up with not enough genetic drift. I'm just trying to remember if I remember the genetics correctly. Seriously, what happens is you end up with a bunch of birth defects, and they die out within 2 generations. It's actually happened. It happened over at a couple islands over in the coast of Africa. It is a historical fact. It is disgusting, and I really wish I didn't know it, but it's fact. Don't look up the pictures. I'm not joking. Do not look up the pictures. You will throw up. If you think you can handle real life horror shows, and I do mean horror as in, oh my good lord, that poor child. Reason why we have to have the genetic drift to having enough, and one woman to a bunch of men is a lot of genetic drift. The other direction, not so much, not enough, because a woman's genetic drift is much more, nowhere near as much as a man's. Seriously, nowhere near. It is terrifying. We had to, I'm not even going to get into it, but it takes strict breeding regulations if you're going to have to rebuild a culture like that with a bunch of men, one woman. The children have to be separated and not allowed to interact until they reach breeding age. This never really went through as an actual thing. It is only currently theorized, but there is one culture that was wiped out by a tsunami off the coast. I think it was India, that ended up higher ratio of men to women, and they end up with, a bunch of men towards one woman, and created enough genetic drift to rebuild their society. Yes, there were defects, but they were able to survive for a number of generations, that they end up being able to rebuild their society, and then started having more genetic structure injection from the outside by foreigners. It's actually welcomed for foreigners to come and sow their seeds, for lack of better terminology. But going back to our culture, why is "thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife" number 9? Well, again, it's down to going to a single couple for marriage. Getting rid of polyamory. This is, well, creates honestly a much better structure of protection for the society. Why is this? This is based off of genetics, muscle tissue, and evolution. Don't like it? Go argue with the historians and the actual biologists. Men have stronger, by cubic inch measurement, hard measurement, men by far have denser muscles, stronger and faster muscle twitch response. That means reaction speed, physical endurance, denser bones, wider, narrower hips that allow them to have, be able to fight better and longer in certain types of physical exertion. Namely, violent physical exertions. Also, endurance ones like farming and mining and heavy work like forge. There are exceptions to this general rule. It's not a hard, fast, absolute. There are only like 2 absolute rules I know of in the entire biology of humanity, and this is not one of them. But think about the time when the 10 Commandments came about. The Hebrews had just come out of Egypt. They were camping beside Mount Sinai, and they had lost faith and become, well, debauched idiots, for lack of better terms, and not even a professional one like myself. They had lost sight of their own ideals and their own philosophy. So Moses went out the mountain and communed with God, and came back with the philosophy codified. Mostly the beginning of it. If you ask the Jews, they talk about 316, and honestly, I can understand. A good portion of those rules make a lot of sense. Some of them don't. A lot of them don't, actually. I'll be honest. But that's beside the point. They were all reasoned in that time period for that current amount of knowledge. Should we disregard them because of it? Absolutely. Should we judge them and pay attention to them with our current understanding now? Yes. Quote St. Thomas Aquinas, we must look the world through the philosophy of our past, but also through the lens of the world. Let's look at our philosophy. Look at our philosophy through the lens of the world and our world through the lens of our philosophy. Otherwise, we have a block. I'm paraphrasing. Okay. So it was for protection, because they were coming out in a violent world. They were becoming once more a new nation unto themselves, and we're going to claim the world that a part of land for themselves to make a new nation, a new home. Hey, puppy. Beautiful animal. Beautiful animal, man. I love huskies. They're beautiful. Yes. Pretty girl. Good doggo. Alright. So, it was specifically because they acknowledged that they were in a violent world. So, they're going to have a philosophy that says, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, because that is the beginning of wanting something that there is only one of. And honestly, that leads to greed, that cultivates greed, a horrible idea that is inside of all humanity, that we must resist to the point so we can cultivate it in the proper circumstances so we can better ourselves as a species, not just hurting others. It is the beginning of the idea, which perpetuates greed and selfishness and hatred. They were trying to nip it in the bud. And understanding psychology that I'm basically reading myself into, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Good Lord. too much sense, actually. Very distressing amount of sense. They don't want to make sure that the society continued as much as possible. So you should not covet your neighbor's wife. You should find your own. Now, if you find a woman that you see is beautiful, but if she goes, oh, now you know what you're looking for out there in the world. Yes, there's only one of her, but you know what to look for to help cultivate it. Cultivate your own ideas of who you are to attract the person you want. This is important. More important than the second one, because the idea is to stop the destruction of the society through, well, of the married couples. Now, I consider it more important than the second one. But in an atheistic manner, and strictly speaking, the second one honestly could be more important. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Why not covet thy neighbor's goods? Again, covet, definition-wise, at that time period, when translating from Latin to English, which honestly we should honestly go back to the original Hebrew and then Yiddish, or even older ones of that, to get the proper terminology. The word they use covet specifically because covet has a different definition other than want of someone else. It is specifically wanting something else that belongs to another. Justly belongs. It is their property. That's something that they worked for properly in that moment, in that way. They have worked for and they've earned the love of that person through that contract, or both parties have sworn on their own honor and their own philosophy that they would uphold that marriage. You covet their neighbor's wife, you could actually destroy that marriage, that contract, and destroy everyone around it. Now, if you just covet someone else's property, again, we're stealing. You hurt everyone who created that property, and you also hurt everyone involved of that person. No one person's action only affects one other person. Every action you do is a cascading result of changes and motions and understandings in the world at large. Not even just your own understanding, beyond your understanding. So, when you are to covet the neighbor's goods, you're basically wanting what they worked for. What they justly have worked for, what they have suffered and they bled for, and cried tears and looked themselves to the bone and stood forward and say, I have done this! And you want that. Why do I work only on ideas and art? Because, well, it's obvious who created it. Me. Now, if someone else tries to take my ideas, I can honestly point back, hey, look, I did it first. Oh, I'm just making a peanut butter jelly sandwich with different ideas. That's what the idea of a polymath is. They see different ideas from different perspectives, ways of life, philosophies, ideals, and they take the two and they put it together. Like a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Take one thing, take another, and put it together. Sometimes you have to put something on the outside to hold it all together to make something more. But take it in, then you take the sandwich, take the toast, and make it into a sandwich. That is the end of the secular Ten Commandments. You have to understand that every one of your actions affects everyone else. There's no one person you hurt when you decide to steal, covet, or lie about it. Everyone involved in that is affected. It's not a pleasant thing, it just is. This life. And since I was all down, let's do some jokes. Oh, actually, this is a funny thing. Anyone remember the movie Moana? Lin-Manuel Miranda, one of the producers, the guy who wrote the song "You're Welcome" for Maui in the movie Moana. So once he knew the character would be voiced by Dwayne Johnson, he actually specifically wrote the song for Dwayne Johnson because he honestly believed that he is the only person who could sing about sing something so egotistical and have us completely convinced that we should be thanking him, and honestly, he's not wrong. Think about that. Think about that. Dwayne Johnson, you're a charismatic guy, honestly. I gotta say this, you're like a freaking bard from D&D. You have a +8 charisma, man. Probably more, +12. And seriously, there's a phrase that was a joke about it. Now you can do everything but float. And honestly, then I stopped going, wait a second, that's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What was it? Being neurodivergent having a neurodivergent experience is talking about your brain as if it's a separate entity from yourself, and realizing it really is, and then understanding it's a real bastard. So that you understand, get it. There are teens who think discovering nirvana is actually some type of special achievement or something, and it was, I realized, that's the entire idea of what Buddhism is, and it's like, realizing I'm slowly dying inside, because I'm acting like a boomer. I've got good news and bad news for everyone. The good news is the tests are in. The cooties I'm negative for cooties. Downside of the bad news is my vibe check came back negative too. Yeah. Does anyone know the reason why parrots can't sing the newest songs? Supposedly they can repeat just about anything said near them, but no one seems to understand that they're able to get their parent to sing any new songs. Is that the reason why they have parrots? Yeah, I haven't asked why do I like using the Imperial system of measuring temperature over metric. Honestly, it comes down really to how much I feel, because 69 degrees feels like ideal weather in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, die. So I've actually dedicated it that I shall now measure the world in freedom units. Huzzah! Or burgers. I can live with burgers. I hope you like those bad jokes. I found them on the internet and rewrote some of them. Well, it's been one interesting week. So yeah, apparently there's people who want me to run for office. And I looked at them, I'm a freaking clown! And I said, yes, you already have one in office. And I went, good point. And then I realized, wait a second, when was the last time we didn't have a clown in office? And I had to look back and I realized that was Lincoln. Not joking, the last time we didn't have a clown in office that wasn't a complete idiot for some reason or another, or at least a halfwit, you'd have to go all the way back to Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican. And I kind of go, come on, dude, it's Lincoln. I love pointing out there are only two presidents in the World Wrestling Hall of Fame. You got Donald Trump because, he's rich. The other one actually is Abraham. The one who actually is in it because of his wrestling record is Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln put himself through law school and funded the beginning of his law practice with his winnings from wrestling in the professional circuit in America. I sat back and I realized, holy crap, that's awesome. Not only did he change the world with his ideals through his own philosophy, he also did it through his own fists. And then I looked at his record and I went, want to guess? Anyone want to guess what Abraham Lincoln's win-loss record in wrestling was? It's one of the highest win-loss records in history. And this is real wrestling, not World Wrestling Federation. This is the actual wrestling like they do in the Olympics, where it actually freaking hurts. $300. That's right. Abraham Lincoln paid for his way through college because he was one of the greatest wrestlers in American history. 300 wins, 0 losses in his professional matches. He never lost a professional match. I'm sorry, that's just impressive. Everyone wants to criticize Lincoln for his internal. At the time period, I can understand what he wanted to do and why. One of the things they criticized him on is that he wanted to send the slaves back to Africa, but it was played out, it would have to be over the years after the Civil War, if anyone wanted to go back. But the also reason why they worked out the deal of having 40 acres and a mule didn't happen to most, 99% of the freed slaves, which I consider bad. But one of the things he did, he changed that on the idea of just sending them back, because there's no back to. That's the issue. When you have generational things, generational mix of different cultures, that's one thing that most leftists don't understand. Don't call Black Americans African Americans. Not right. Why? They're American. They have lived here their entire life. Their grandfathers, and great-grandfathers. Some of them, a good portion of them chains. That's what, yes, it's a stain on their history. That's why they're called Black Americans, because they created the culture out of a black idea, a black stain in our history, and they created something that is beautiful. They created blues, they created jazz, and they created rock and roll. I forgive them for rap, but honestly, the other three just outweigh the rap completely. Okay, honestly, I do listen to a couple rap artists. Not any of the ones actually have platinum records, because you guys just stink. All about drugs, alcohol, and when I listen to a good rap artist that thinks about things that are poignant, look up Tom McDonald. If you want something funny, look up Dan Bull. Amazing rappers in their own rights for various reasons. Dan Bull, because he's funny, does a lot about video games. His Battlegrounds one was kind of funny. But Tom McDonald, he does a couple funny ones, but there's a couple ones that are about suicide, and loss, and pain, and addiction. That really touched people. I understand some of it. I've never experienced suicidal thoughts in my life. Thank God for that, honestly. Addiction, on the other hand, never will say that out loud. Let's put it this way, I deal with chronic pain. One side of my family is manic depressive alcoholics, the other side is Irish. Yes, I drink. But yeah, it's unjust to call Black Americans African Americans. Now, there are African Americans. Obama is African American. None of his family were slaves in America. Yeah, they experienced some of the backlash and cultural, what's the word I'm looking for? Stigma. Part of it afterwards, after the fact. But come on, he grew up in a rich white household during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Seriously, people, the guy was just. Anyone know how I know he lived in a very rich household? He was asked if he ever did cocaine, and he said, yeah, he did a little bit of blow. Here's a little fact most people don't like to know. The highest percentage of individuals in the United States who use cocaine, powdered cocaine, are white Americans, or specifically of heavy European stock, and exclusively all rich. Rich and cash-wise, usually getting a lot of income for one reason or another. America, on the other hand, is almost exclusively all lower income and black Americans. And African Americans. Again, low income. As a person who has lived in low income areas, screw off. Those of you all exclusively think it's just one ethnicity. You bloody bigots. You're annoying. Please shut up. You're embarrassing the rest of us. You're embarrassing me that I actually think you're the same species as I am. Seriously, life is hard for everyone. Alright, I think that's going to be it for the day. I'm kind of running out of things. I'm out of notes, so you actually went through all of them. Oh, yeah, that was one last thing I wanted to talk about. Everyone wants to start wearing a mask because they're afraid of being considered one part of collision, one political party or another. My response is, okay, go ahead. I don't mind. I kind of like the idiots who like wearing badges so I can actually know who they are. I will never will. I will never make it a requirement for you to do so. And I advocate against that specific idea, for that idea, but I do think it's your right to wear a mask for one reason, for any reason, in all honesty. It's your right to do so. If you feel like you're being sick, like one of the things that happened in Japan, the reason why they didn't have much COVID, Japan and South Korea, why didn't have COVID? Everyone who was sick started wearing a mask, because that's the entire thing about wearing face masks. They don't protect you from COVID. Never have. Never will. What they do is they make it so that you don't infect others if you're sick. That's it. That's what they've always been designed to do. Saying otherwise, inferring otherwise, is dishonest at best, outright horrible at worst. The only way you can actually have a type of mask that would actually protect you completely from COVID is if you actually wore like one of those space helmet ones with air conditioning built in. Temple has one. If you want to go look it up on his YouTube channel, Castle. It's in a couple of his videos when he's outside. He likes wearing it when he works in his garden because he doesn't have to deal with the bugs. Understandable. But it has HEPA filters and has airflow regulated, so he does not get any contaminated air inside of him. Here's the thing about COVID. It doesn't just attach to your lungs, it attaches to your eyeballs. So if you're not wearing goggles all the bloody time, congratulations, you've been exposed. When I realized that I had literally been through 3 different hotspots here on Island where several people got exposed to it, I went, oh, well, there's a high chance that I'm one of the people who are immune for one reason or another. Turns out I'm part of the 11.097%. Those people who don't catch coronavirus. I was in my medical history. Guess what's not there? Me being sick with the flu. So yeah, I'm immune. Joy. I went through all that for nothing. But yeah, that's life. I've honestly done worse things with my life. Literally did last week. No, I'm never going to say that online. You want to know? You have to bribe me. Come on, people. You've already acknowledged that I take money to tell things. I'm just figuring on price. So, yeah, it's your right to wear a mask. For whatever reason. If it makes you feel safe to wear a face diaper, go ahead, I don't mind. Those who want to wear face masks for any other reason, go for it. Honestly, I think it should be considered protected underneath the Second Amendment. Why? Because, well, there's a thing called information warning. If you have someone's identity, you can hurt them really badly. The reason why I wear this mask. Yeah, people don't recognize. I know people who the actor behind Fatman, who I do not name online, has met people outside of this when he is not playing me. And it's quite an interesting sight when they realize that the two of us are one and the same. At least though, the actor is me, but I am not the actor. Why did I do this word salad? Because legalese, I'll explain another time about Terry Balboa and Gawker. Getting a hiccup, so I'm going to get out of here. I think I gotta know. Well, I may not get sick from COVID. Apparently, my allergies are acting up. But put it simply, Terry Balboa ended up destroying Gawker because, well, they refused to acknowledge the difference between Terry Balboa's private life and Hulk Hogan's public life. Because while Terry Balboa is an actor, he was still a private citizen, but he didn't play the character Hulk Hogan in public all the time. He was never himself in public. Much like the actor behind myself is never himself in public. For various reasons. Usually he does other things to obfuscate his information, but he is who he is. It takes care of the private info of the actor, and as such, he gets to live out his private life. Reason why a lot of there's a thing called VTubers now. They're weird, don't get me wrong. The blinking lamp and talking gun. I think it was a 9mm. Okay. Whatever. I don't care. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, that's it. That was the last thing I wanted to say. I'm talking about the mask being, the right to be able to do so. Go ahead. For those who want to wear the face diapers, I get to, point and, laugh, because I point and laugh at everyone I think is funny. And for those who want to use it for other reasons, I point and laugh at you too. That's just because I do that. I'm a clown. I make fun of people. So I make fun of myself. Look at me. I'm fat. Fat man. I know it. I'm sorry. I'm tired. Jokes are getting rather dumb right now. Forgive me. I think that's it. Yeah, sorry, and get stupid, dumb jokes, not stupid jokes. I've run dead for me for a while, and I should not use it ever again on principle. Yeah. So, in parting, thanks Harambe. Don't forget to kiss a veteran. Make sure you, pat their head, rub their belly, and happy Memorial Day. Always remember, if you're going to have fun, always remember have fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Whatever it is, if you're not having fun, seriously, you're doing it wrong. And dealing with politics, remember the definition of politics. Poly meaning many, ticks meaning blood-sucking parasites. And we got a lot of them. Oh, look. I found an infestation. Love another and one another. Don't hate. Don't let yourself. That's hard. It's easy to get angry. But use it. Change it into something that's better. Write a song. Turn it into a comedy. Make art. Build a giant freaking robot. Something. But don't let yourself stew in hatred. Anger to become hatred. It just pollutes your soul. That's it. So I'm partying. Always remember. Vaya con Dios. En vive Cristios.